Good morning, children. Yes. So in the last class, we were already completed the discussion with respect to the gametogenesis. That is nothing but the spermatogenesis and oogenesis, isn't it? Today we will continue the topic. It is very important, and this cannot be. That means generally nobody will teach you these things outside. Of course, this is in our syllabus, but also for the purpose of examination, you have to study. Okay. So let me start one of the interesting topic as well as important topic, the menstrual cycle. What is menstrual cycle? The menstrual cycle, it is also known as reproductive cycle, isn't it? Yeah. Let me explain the reproductive cycle in the female primates, including that is monkeys, apes. Okay, so humans, the reproductive cycle in the female primates, which includes monkeys, apes and human beings, is called menstrual cycle. Okay, so this is actually will continue. So it is a cyclic event starting from one menstruation till the next during reproductive period. That is from beginning to the puberty to menopause of the woman's life. Okay. And here generally what is meaning of, so as we have used the menarche, the terminology, and the menopause, the first menstruation begins at puberty is called menarche. Okay, and there is another terminology, that is menopause, the cessation or stoppage of menstrual cycle or ovulation in the females is called menopause. Okay. Yeah, we will continue the discussion. Here, the menstrual cycle, the duration. In human females, the menstruation is repeated at an average interval of about approximately 28 to 29 days. And the cycle of events starting from one menstruation till the next one is called menstrual cycle. So that means the duration of menstrual cycle is 28 or 29, because sometimes it may be +1 or -1, because it will differ from one person to another person, depends upon the health. Okay, yeah, health of the individual, it will vary. As I said, the menstrual cycle is also seen in other primates like monkeys and apes also, because those are also will come under primates only. So that's the thing. Okay, yes. And here, if you see the menstrual cycle, remember, during the menstrual cycle, only one ovum is released during the middle of each menstrual cycle. The major events of the menstrual cycles, so that means if you divide into the major events, the events of the menstrual cycle, you can see the ovarian cycle and uterine cycle. So that means the ovarian cycle, which is include the changes in the ovary, and the uterine cycle, which is include the changes in uterus and oviduct along with vagina. Okay, and what are these events? If you divide into in detail, so we can identify, that means the phases. The menstrual cycle majorly, that major events of menstrual cycle, or we can also say the phases. The phases of menstrual cycle, they are nothing but majorly 4 phases we can identify. That is, the first one is menstrual phase. Okay, it's about the beginning from first day to the 5th day. Then the second one is follicular. Follicular phase is also known as proliferative. This is between 5 to 13th day. Then the ovulatory phase, that is the third phase, exactly the 14th day of the menstrual cycle, or we can also say the middle of the menstrual cycle. Then the last one is the secretory or luteal phase. Okay, so this is between 15th to 28 days. You can observe the right side, which is given in the cyclic manner, isn't it? The red color, it is indication of the menstruation. Then after it is nothing but, yes, the follicular phase, then ovulation phase, then the secretory. Okay, yeah. So let us discuss one by one the phases of the menstrual cycle. As I said, the beginning from the first one is menstrual phase. Okay. Yes. It is actually the cycle starts with the menstrual phase when the menstrual flow occurs. In generally, we can also say the cycle starts with the menstrual flow. That is nothing but bleeding. Okay, and it lasts for 3 to 5 days. As I said in the earlier also, the number, it may be differs from one person to another based on the health conditions. Okay, yes. And what about the remaining changes during this phase? Is actually, as I said, the menstrual flow results due to why it is happens. The menstrual flow, how it will happen, or what is the reason? The menstrual flow results due to breakdown of endometrial lining of the uterus and its blood vessels, which forms a red fluid that comes out through vagina. Okay, so this is the reason exactly. And when it will happen, the menstruation occurs only if the released ovum is not fertilized. Okay, so hence the lack of menstruation, it is indicative of pregnancy also, remember. Okay, so because of this reason, we can also say that when generally the menstruation cannot be identified, that means the lack of menstruation is an indication of the pregnancy. There are some cases due to the health issues. Okay, of course it is very rare condition, but generally that menstruation occurs only if the released ovum is not fertilized. Okay, yes. So as I said, sometimes due to the irregular menstruations, when it will happen, it may be also caused due to the stress. Okay, then peer pressure, poor health conditions also. Okay, so these are all the reasons behind the irregular menstruations also. The next phase is nothing but follicular phase or proliferative phase. See, this is between the 5th to 13th day of the menstrual cycle. It starts. The menstrual phase is actually followed by follicular phase. During this phase, the primary follicles in the ovary grows to become fully matured Graafian follicle, and simultaneously the endometrium of the uterus regenerates through proliferation. Okay, that is the reason generally we call this phase also proliferative phase. Okay, and these changes in the ovary and uterus are induced by the changes in the level of pituitary and ovarian hormones. Okay, as I said, it starts from 5th day after the menstruation and completed within 8 to 12 days. And in this phase, the action of gonadotropin hormones, okay, that is FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, and luteinizing hormones from the pituitary occurs. Then what will happen? The secretion, okay, the secretion of gonadotropin hormones increases during follicular phase and stimulate the follicular development, as well as the secretion of estrogen that means by the growing follicles. We can conclude that what is the role of the FSH? Okay, the development of pituitary, that FSH stimulate the development of pituitary follicles into Graafian follicle, then the secretion of estrogen by the Graafian follicles. Sometimes they can ask, okay, what is the role of FSH during follicular phase? Then you should write the answer. So these 2 points. Okay. Then what about the estrogen? Okay, so this estrogen stimulates the proliferation of ruptured uterine, endometrium, and mucous lining of oviduct and vagina, and also development of secondary sexual cavities. Okay, this is very important. And the suppression of FSH secretion, that is the secretion of luteinizing hormones. Okay, So this is just like interlinked mechanism. If it is FSH and LH releases, okay, then only this process will continue. Okay, and also you can identify the changes in the right side diagram, the formation of new endometrium wall of the uterus. What about the next phase? Then after that next phase is ovulatory phase. This is very important. Here again, the ovulatory phase, actually exactly it will happen the 14th day, okay, after menstrual cycle. The both FSH and LH attains a peak level in the middle of the cycle, okay. So the rapid secretion of LH leading to that means to its maximum level during the mid cycle called LH surge, okay. Why it is LH surge? Generally the rapid secretion of LH leading to its maximum level during the mid cycle of the menstrual cycle called LH surge, that induces rupture of Graafian follicle and thereby the release of ovum into uterine tube. This is called ovulation. On which day it will happen? About 14th day, okay. In normal condition, generally we will discuss about the normal condition. Sometimes in abnormal there may be plus 1 or minus 1. It will be differs. Sometimes it may more than that also, okay. But generally we will discuss according to the normal conditions, okay. So here is the diagram on the right side. It is given. You can identify the phases also. It is indicated the beginning from the primary oocyte within the follicles, then it is get converted into growing follicles, then it will mature the mature follicles later. Yes, then it is attains the maturity, the ovulation during ovulatory phase, okay. Then what will happen next? It will turns into the corpus luteum, that degenerating corpus luteum. I hope you can identify easily. Yes. So as I said, on the 14th day, what are the major events? That LH and FS attains the peak level in the middle of the cycle, and rapid secretion of this LH, that means, as I said, what do you call that one? LH surge, that is nothing but the rupture, okay, that induces the rupture of Graafian follicle and the follicle and thereby ovulation. You know what is the meaning of ovulation? We were discussing the earlier also, isn't it? The releasing. Then the finally it will move toward the further phase, that is the fourth phase, the luteal phase, or we can also say the secretory phase. It can be identified between the 14th to 28th day. After the ovulation, what will happen? The ovulation is followed by the luteal phase, during which the ruptured parts of the Graafian follicle transforms into yellow body. It is also called corpus luteum. Remember, so they can also ask for one mass question, what is corpus luteum? Then you should write the ovulation is followed by the luteal phase, during which the ruptured parts of the Graafian follicle transforms into yellow body is called corpus luteum. I hope you can identify the right side. Yes, it is labeled also. Now, the corpus luteum secretes progesterone. Remember, it is also acts as a gland. Okay, so here it is also very important. I hope you remember the last year we were discussed, isn't it? There are two types of the glands. What are those one? Endocrine glands and exocrine glands. Do you remember? Yes, these are. So here it's also acts as a endocrine glands. Okay, then, and here the corpus luteum secretes a large amount of the progesterone, which is essential for the maintenance of the endometrium. Then what are the functions? Remember, as I said, the progesterone is essential for the maintenance of the endometrium, such as endometrium is necessary for implantation, that is nothing but fixation of the ovum, of the fertilized ovum and other events of pregnancy. Hence the progesterone is also called pregnancy hormone. Okay, if you consider as a functions, what are the functions of progesterone? It makes the endometrium maximum vascular, thick and soft. Thus the uterus gets ready for the implantation. In the right side diagram you can identify the thick endometrium formation. Then it also inhibits the follicle stimulating hormone secretion to prevent the development of second ovarian follicles. Okay, yeah. See, remember here it is very important, during the pregnancy all the events of the menstrual cycle and there is no menstruation. Hence the absence of menstruation is the indication of pregnancy. Yes, if the fertilization does not occur, that corpus luteum degenerates. It causes disintegration of the endometrium. It leads to the next cycle or next menstruation, which is essential for the new cycle. Okay, so here it is also the right side diagram. The sixth labeled one you can identify, isn't it? It is easy to understand also. Yeah, if the fertilization does not occur, then the corpus luteum degenerates. It causes the disintegration of endometrium. It leads to the next menstruation. So this also you can identify the right side diagram. The ruptured endometrium and the bleeding also you can identify in the vaginal opening. Okay. And during pregnancy, all the events of the menstrual cycle stop and there is no menstruation until to complete. There is a gestation periods to complete. Okay, so during the pregnancy all the events of the menstrual cycle stops and there is no menstruation. Okay, so here is the diagram which is given in your textbook also. You can identify, if you consider the x-axis and y-axis. On x-axis they have given the phases, names of the phases, the menstruation, follicular phase, luteal phase. Okay, if you consider as a y-axis, there they have given the uterine events, ovarian hormone levels, ovarian events, pituitary hormone solution. I hope you can identify the graphs. The red color indication is nothing but progesterone hormones, isn't it? Then there is another color, the estrogen indication. The ovulation is exactly the 14th day, the developing follicle, mature follicle, ovulation, developing corpus luteum, then finally regression, that is nothing but regressing corpus luteum. Okay, see what are the changes here? The change in pituitary hormones, that is FSH and LH indicates, that is LH level indicates. Then you can also identify the changes in ovary and ovarian events. Then also you can identify the change in ovarian hormones, that too especially estrogen and progesterone levels. Then you can also identify changes in uterine wall, that is nothing but uterine events. Okay, yes. And I told you in the beginning also, there are two terminologies, it is very important. The human begins menstrual cycle, ceases around 50 years, age is called menopause, and here the menarche. Okay, the first menstruation during puberty is called menarche. Okay, it can be identified around 12 to, that is 11 or 12 years. Then the menstrual cycle continue until around 45 to 50 years. menopause. Menopause is nothing but the stopping of the menstrual cycle. Okay, so that means the cyclic menstruation is an indicator of the normal reproductive phase in the female that can extend between menarche to menopause. Okay, yeah, and remember, during the menopause, we can also say the cessation or the stoppage of the menstrual cycle or ovulation in the female is called menopause. Okay, it is normally occurs between the ages of 45 to 55. Sometimes it can extend up to 55 years. That's what I said. It may be differs from one person to another person, depends upon the health conditions. It can extend from 45 to 55, and it's around 50. Also, it can ceases. Okay, and the menopause is strongly influenced by the effects of gonadotropin hormones like FSH and LH in the ovaries decreases, so that the follicles do not develop properly, and there is no balanced secretion of the hormones such as estrogen and progesterone. You know very well that. So these are all nothing but the indication of the, yes, there are three phases we have discussed, right? The vegetative, reproductive, and the last one is senescence. The menopause is also one of the indication. That's what they are moving towards the senescent phase also. Okay, yeah, so let it be. So next class we will continue. Okay, before that let me to brief once again. Okay, so today what we will discuss, today we will discuss about the very important topic, the menstrual cycle, the reproductive cycle in the female primates, including human beings, that is nothing but monkeys and apes, is called menstrual cycle. Okay, the menstrual cycle, it begins at the puberty, is called menarche, and the cessation or stoppage of the menstrual cycle or the ovulation in the female is called menopause. Then in human females, menstruation is repeated an average interval of about 28 or 29 days. Okay, then the major events of the menstrual cycle, that is menstrual phase, follicular phase, ovulatory phase, and luteal phase. And also we will discuss about the what are the the stages, how it will be, what are the major events it will go through during the menstrual cycle. These all things we will discuss today. I hope you people understood. If you are having still any doubts, then please message me, let me to clarify. Okay, so thank you, have a nice day.